The cold hit Tay first, then the darkness. His eyes opened to nothing but black, and for a moment he thought he was dead. System reboot complete. Life support at 27% capacity, said a calm voice. Tay tried to move, but his body felt heavy. His fingers twitched, then his arms. The glass cover of his stasis pod was frosted over. He pushed against it and it opened with a hiss. Cold air rushed in. Tay took a deep breath and coughed. His throat was dry, like he hadn't used it in years. "Welcome back, Captain Tay," the voice said. It was Navi, the ship's AI. "You have been in stasis for 300 years, 2 months, and 14 days. Tay sat up quickly. His head spun. 300 years? That's not possible. It is the current time measurement based on Earth Standard Calendar, Navi replied. The emergency lights flickered on, casting the room in dim red. Tay could see his stasis pod was the only one open. 5 others remained closed, their status lights dark. "The others?" Tay asked, his voice rough. "Life signs negative. Stasis failure occurred in all pods except yours during the incident." Tay closed his eyes. His crew. Gone. He had known them for only the 2 weeks of mission prep, but they were all that remained of home. "What incident?" he asked. "Unknown. Ship records are damaged. We are off course by approximately 73 light years from planned route. Current location, uncharted space." Tay's legs shook as he stood. He steadied himself against the wall and looked down at his body. He wore only the thin white suit they had put on him before stasis. He was thinner than he remembered. Navi mission status. The AI hesitated, which it had never done before. Mission parameters. Unclear. Memory banks damaged. Primary objective appears to be diplomatic contact with Galactic Council as last human ambassador. Secondary objectives unknown. Last human ambassador. The words made Tay's stomach twist. He remembered fragments. Earth in crisis. A desperate plan. His selection for the mission. But why him? He had been a pilot, not a diplomat. "Show me the ship status," Tay said. A holographic display appeared on the wall. Most sections glowed red. The engine was barely functioning. Life support was failing. And they were drifting through empty space, far from any star system. Estimated time until complete system failure, Tay asked. 4 Earth days at current power usage. 4 days. Tay ran his hand through his hair. It was longer than regulation length. 300 years of growth, but stasis had slowed it to just a few inches. "Are we broadcasting a distress signal?" "Negative. Communications array damaged." "Can it be fixed?" "Affirmative with available materials. Repair time estimate 6 hours. "Then that's our first task," Tay said. "Guide me through it." The repair work took 8 hours, not 6. Tay's hands kept shaking, and twice he had to stop to eat the tasteless emergency rations. But finally, the distress beacon was online, broadcasting, on all standard frequencies. "Now we wait," Tay said, floating back to the main deck. With power so low, he had turned off artificial gravity. He drifted to the viewport. Stars surrounded him, distant and cold. None looked familiar. Earth's sun would be one of them, but he had no way to know which. 300 years. Everyone he had ever known was dead. Had been dead for centuries. A flash of memory hit him. A woman with kind eyes saying goodbye. Who was she? His mother? A lover? He couldn't remember her name. "Navi, access my personal files. Do I have any recordings from before the mission?" Searching. No personal recordings found. All crew personal data was stored in Section C7, which suffered complete data loss. Another dead end. Tay pushed away from the viewport and floated toward the cargo hold. If they only had 4 days of life support, he needed to know exactly what resources they had. The cargo hold was large, designed to carry diplomatic gifts and supplies for a long journey. Now most of the containers had broken free during whatever incident had damaged the ship. They floated in the zero gravity. Some cracked open, their contents drifting. Tay moved through the floating debris, cataloging what he found. Food packs, water filters, spare parts. Enough to stretch their 4 days to maybe 6 if he was careful. Not enough to matter in the vastness of space. As he pushed aside a broken container, something caught his eye. A soft blue glow came from behind a stack of supply crates. Tay moved closer, curious. Among the floating debris was a small orb of light about the size of his fist. It pulsed gently, like a heartbeat. As Tay approached, the light brightened. "Navi, what is this?" Tay asked. "Unknown object, not listed. In cargo manifest. Composition scan inconclusive." Tay reached out toward the light. It drifted toward his hand, seeming to respond to his movement. When it touched his fingers, Tay gasped. It felt warm, almost alive, and for a moment he saw stars. Not as they looked from a viewport, but as if he were among them, no ship between him and the cosmos. The vision faded as quickly as it had come. The orb hovered above his palm, its pulsing now matching Tay's heartbeat. "You're alive, aren't you?" Tay whispered. The orb brightened in response. "I think I'll call you Biol," Tay said, remembering the word from his childhood. Star. It seemed fitting. 2 days passed. The distress signal continued broadcasting, but there had been no response. Tay spent his time making small repairs, trying to stretch their power supply. Biol followed him everywhere, sometimes floating beside him, sometimes resting on his shoulder like a pet. Tay talked to Buell constantly. He didn't know if the creature understood, but it was better than talking to Navi's emotionless voice. He told Buell about the fragments of memory that kept surfacing, training for the mission, Earth's blue skies, the taste of real food. On the 3rd day, as Tay was checking the life support systems again, Navi's voice broke the silence. "Alert. Ship detected at extreme sensor range, approaching at sublight speed." Tay rushed to the bridge. "Friendly? Unknown. Not matching any design and damage database. Estimated arrival, 40 minutes. Hope and fear battled in Tay's chest. Help had arrived, but who were they? Would they understand his distress call? Would they help, or were they scavengers coming to pick the ship's bones? Prepare all functioning systems. Boost power to shields. If possible, Tay ordered. Shield power at minimum levels only. Enough to prevent minor debris impact, not weapons fire. Tay nodded. They were helpless if the approaching ship was hostile. He looked at Buell, who had followed him to the bridge. The creature's light had dimmed, as if sensing his worry. "It's okay," Tay told it. "Maybe they're friendly." The minutes ticked by. Tay put on the only intact spacesuit he could find. It was too big, but it would keep him alive if the hull was breached. He kept the helmet off for now, watching the approaching ship on the view screen. It was unlike any design he remembered from Earth or its colonies. Long and sleek with curved sections that reminded him of insect wings, it was much larger than his diplomatic vessel and probably much better armed. "They're scanning us," Navi reported. "Open a communication channel," Tay ordered. "Channel open." Tay took a deep breath. "This is Captain Tay of the Earth diplomatic vessel Aurora. We are damaged and in need of assistance. Our life support is failing. Please respond." For a long moment there was only static. Then a voice answered, speaking a language Tay didn't recognize. After a pause, it switched to heavily accented but understandable English. "Earth vessel, this is Captain G of the trading ship Stellar Wind. Stand by for docking. We will provide assistance." Relief flooded through Tay. They were saved. But as the larger ship approached, a new thought struck him. 300 years had passed. What had happened to Earth in that time? Why had Navi called him the last human ambassador? And why did the alien captain sound so surprised when he mentioned Earth? Bile floated up to rest against Tay's chest, its light pulsing rapidly. Tay placed a hand over the small creature. Whatever awaited him on the other ship, at least he wasn't completely alone. The stellar wind grew larger in the viewport. Tay could see details now: worn hull plates, marking in an unfamiliar script, docking clamps extending toward his ship. His journey was just beginning. The docking tunnel extended from Captain G's ship with a mechanical hiss. Tay stood by his airlock. Bayul hovering near his shoulder. He had hidden the small, glowing creature inside his jacket pocket, unsure if he should reveal it to these strangers. Final. Docking sequence complete, Navi announced. Pressure equalizing. Tay's heart pounded. After days alone with only a damaged AI and a mysterious light creature for company, he was about to meet aliens. Real aliens. Despite his fragmented memories, he knew this was significant. Earth had made contact with other species before his mission, but details were fuzzy in his mind. The airlock door slid open. Tay held his breath. 3 figures stood in the tunnel. They were humanoid, but clearly not human. The one in front was the tallest, with pale blue skin and 4 arms. Instead of hair, a crest of feather-like filaments rose from the top of their head. Their eyes were large and solid black, with no visible pupils. "Captain Tay?" the lead figure asked in accented English. "I am Captain G." Tay was surprised. G's voice was feminine, though he realized he shouldn't assume alien gender based on human standards. "Yes," Tay said, finding his voice. "Thank you for responding to our distress call." G tilted her head, studying him with those black eyes. "We almost didn't. A human ship this far out? Most thought it was a trap." She gestured to his vessel. "Your ship design is very old." "I've been in stasis," Tay explained. "For 300 years, according to Navi." The 2 aliens behind G exchanged looks. One of them whispered something in a language Tay didn't understand. "Impossible," said G. "No human has been seen in galactic space for nearly 2 centuries. Tay felt cold. "What do you mean? What happened to Earth?" G seemed to consider her words carefully. "We should discuss this aboard my ship. Yours is losing life support, yes? Bring what you need. My engineer will salvage what can be saved from your vessel." Tay hesitated only briefly. He had no choice but to trust these strangers. He grabbed the emergency pack he'd prepared and followed. G through the docking tunnel, feeling Buell shift in his pocket. The stellar wind was much larger than Tay's diplomatic vessel. The corridors were wide and curved with smooth walls that seemed to glow from within. The air smelled different, not unpleasant, but filled with scents Tay couldn't identify. "My crew is made up of 6 species," G explained as they walked. "Most have never seen a human except in historical records." Tay noticed others watching him from doorways and side passages. Some looked almost human, while others were completely alien to him. One appeared to be made of shifting crystal formations, while another floated above the ground like a cloud of colored smoke. G led him to what appeared to be a medical bay. "Our Dr. Dal will examine you. Standard procedure for rescued spacers." The doctor was shorter than G, with reddish skin and 6 small eyes arranged in a circle on their face. They had no visible mouth, but a voice came from somewhere on their body. A human. Fascinating. "Please sit." Tay sat on an examination table while Dal scanned him with various devices. He kept his jacket closed, hiding Bayul. "Remarkable," Dal said. "Genetic profile confirms human species. No sign of the consciousness plague." "How is this possible?" "What plague?" Tay asked. G and Dal exchanged looks. "Later," G said. "First, make sure he's healthy." After the examination, G took Tay to a small cabin. "Rest here. We'll talk more after you've eaten and cleaned up." Alone at last, Tay pulled Buell from his pocket. The creature floated up, its blue light filling the small room. "What do you think, Bayul? Can we trust them?" Bayul pulsed gently, neither dimming nor brightening. Tay sighed and sat on the bed. His head hurt, filled with questions. What had happened to Earth? To humanity? Why did the aliens seem so surprised? To see him? He closed his eyes and sudden images flashed in his mind. A crowded room, people arguing, someone shouting about an evacuation. The memory slipped away before he could grasp it. A soft chime at the door interrupted his thoughts. "Come in," he said, quickly hiding Bayul under a pillow. The door slid open to reveal one of the most human-looking aliens he'd seen so far. They had light green skin and silver hair, but otherwise could have passed for human. They carried a tray of food. "Hello," they said, their voice youthful. "I'm Juan, junior engineer. Captain asked me to bring you food and show you how to use the cleaning unit." Tay thanked him and accepted the tray. The food was colorful and arranged in small portions. "It's all safe for human consumption," Juan assured him. Dal checked your biology. As Ty ate, Juan showed him how to operate the room's systems. The young engineer spoke quickly, his excitement obvious. "Is it true you're from old Earth, before the vanishing?" Juan asked suddenly. "The vanishing?" Juan's eyes widened. "You don't know? But how could you not?" He stopped himself. "Sorry. Captain said not to overwhelm you with questions." "Please," Tay said, setting down his food. "I need to know what happened. To Earth. To humans." Juan looked conflicted but finally sat down across from Ty. "I only know what they teach in historical archives. About 200 years ago, humans just disappeared from galactic affairs. All communication with Earth stopped. Ships sent to investigate never returned. Eventually, the Galactic Council declared Earth and all human colonies quarantined. They call it the Consciousness Plague." "What was this plague?" Tay asked, remembering the doctor's words. "The records aren't clear. Some say humans evolved suddenly, developed abilities that frightened other species. Others say it was a weapon that backfired. All we know is that one day humans were active members of galactic society, and the next, they were gone." Tay tried to process this information. It aligned with his fragmented memories, urgency, fear, a mission of vital importance. "And my ship? Do you know what its mission was?" Juan shook his head. "The design is ancient. It might have been one of the last diplomatic missions before the vanishing, but that's just a guess." He stood up. "I should go. Captain G wants to speak with you after you've rested." After Juan left, Ty released Buell from under the pillow. The creature seemed agitated, spinning in fast circles around the room. "What's wrong?" Ty asked. Suddenly, Buell flew to Ty's forehead and touched him. A vision exploded in Tay's mind. A massive space station orbiting twin stars, shaped like a giant double helix. Inside, thousands of pods like his own, each containing a sleeping human. The vision vanished as quickly as it had come, leaving Tay gasping. "What was that?" he whispered to Buell. "What are you trying to show me?" Later, Tay sat across from Captain G in her private quarters. The room was sparsely decorated, with only a few objects that might have been art or religious symbols. "Your ship's AI was too damaged to salvage," G said, "but my engineer recovered some data fragments. Your vessel left Earth 302 years ago, shortly before all contact was lost." "Why was I sent?" Tay asked. "The records are unclear. But from what we can piece together, you were part of a last-ditch diplomatic mission. Earth was facing some kind of crisis." G leaned forward. "Tay, you may be the last individual human in the galaxy." "Individual?" "There are rumors, just rumors, that humans still exist, but changed. Collective. Not individuals anymore." Tay thought of his vision, the space station, the sleeping humans in pods. Had some escaped the fate G described? Before he could respond, alarms blared throughout the ship. G jumped up and activated a communication panel. "Bridge report. Captain, we've detected an approaching Vanguard patrol vessel." A voice responded. "They're hailing us and demanding immediate boarding." G cursed in her native language. "Stall them." She turned to Tay, her expression grim. "The Vanguard enforces Galactic Council laws. If they find you, they'll take you for quarantine procedures. No one who goes into quarantine ever comes out." "What do we do?" Tay asked, fear rising in his chest. "Hide you." G's extra set of arms opened a concealed panel in the wall. "Quick, in here." As Tay squeezed into the hidden compartment, Buell slipped out of his pocket, glowing brightly in alarm. G stared at the floating light creature. "What is that?" "His name is Buell," Ty said. I found him on my ship. G's eyes widened. A celestial, she whispered. They're supposed to be extinct. Before Tay could ask what she meant, the compartment door closed, leaving him in darkness with only Buell's soft blue glow for company. Through the thin wall, he heard G's door open and a new voice speak. Captain G, by order of the Galactic Council, your vessel is to be searched. We have reports of an unregistered life form aboard, possibly a quarantine breach. Tay held his breath. They had been found. Tay held his breath in the hidden compartment. Buell's light dimmed to almost nothing, as if the creature understood the need for secrecy. Outside, Tay could hear Captain G speaking to the Vanguard officers. Search all you want, G said. We picked up a damaged ship. No survivors, just salvage. Our scanners detected unusual life signs, a stern voice replied, not matching any registered species. My crew includes a mist dweller from the Carina system, G answered smoothly. Their readings often confuse standard scanners. Footsteps moved around the room. Something heavy bumped against the wall near Tay's hiding spot. He pressed himself deeper into the compartment. What about the human vessel? The Vanguard officer asked. Human? G's voice sounded genuinely surprised. That wreck was centuries old, probably drifting since the quarantine began. And yet its distress beacon was active when you found it. Old. Systems sometimes restart during solar flare activity, G said. There's one in the nearby Libra cluster. The conversation continued for what felt like hours. Tay's legs cramped in the small space. Finally, the footsteps moved toward the door. Very well, Captain, the Vanguard officer said. But we'll escort you to Nexus Point for a full inspection. The Council takes potential quarantine breaches very seriously. Of course, G replied. We're headed there anyway to sell our salvage. The door closed. A few minutes later, the hidden compartment opened. G looked worried. We have a problem, she said. They're escorting us to Nexus Point. I can't hide you forever, especially with full inspection scanners. Tay stepped out, stretching his stiff legs. What do they want with humans? What is this quarantine really about? G sighed. Let's gather the senior crew. You need to know everything if you're going to survive. In the ship's small meeting room, Ty sat with G, Dahl the doctor, the crystal-like navigator named Paul, and Juan, the young engineer. Buell floated near Ty's shoulder, no longer hiding. This is a celestial, G explained to her crew, pointing at Buell. Or at least a juvenile one. They were thought extinct for millennia. Dahl leaned forward, all 6 eyes fixed on the glowing creature. Impossible. The Celestials vanished long before recorded history. Yet here one is, G said. Found. On a human ship with the last individual human in known space. That can't be coincidence. What are Celestials? Tay asked. Paul's crystal body chimed softly as they spoke. The oldest known sentient species. Said to be beings of pure energy, who could travel between stars without ships. Some ancient texts claim they created the first jump gates. Tay looked at Buell with new appreciation. The small light creature didn't seem like a powerful being from legends, yet it had shown him visions he couldn't explain. What about humans? Tay asked. What really happened to Earth? The crew exchanged uncomfortable looks. Finally, G nodded to Juan. Show him the historical records, she ordered. Juan activated. A display on the table. Images appeared. Earth as Tay remembered it. Green and blue and beautiful. Then news reports. Their audio translated into English. Breaking news. Unusual phenomena reported across Earth and human colonies. Mass cases of telepathic connections. Human representatives to the Galactic Council demonstrate unprecedented psychic abilities. The images changed, showing worried alien faces similar to G's species. Council votes to quarantine Earth after human representatives collectively resign. Military blockade established around Sol system. Last human ships attempt to break quarantine, claiming evolution, not disease. Tay watched, horrified and fascinated. This matched his fragmented memories, urgent meetings, arguments about humanity's future. The official story, G said as the display ended, is that humans developed a contagious form of collective consciousness that threatened other species. The council called it a plague and isolated Earth. But you don't believe that, Tay guessed. G's feathery crest flattened. The Vanguard has enforced the quarantine for 2 centuries. No ships in, none out. Why maintain such a blockade if everyone inside is dead or changed? What do you think happened? Tay asked. Some believe humans actually did evolve, developed abilities that frightened the dominant council species. Others think Earth found something, some technology or knowledge that threatened the power balance. Tay closed his eyes. Another memory surfaced. Standing in a room with other humans in uniforms like his, listening to someone speak about the awakening and our true potential. I think, Tay said slowly, I was sent out before whatever happened. To find allies maybe, or a safe haven. Bill suddenly flew to the center of the table. The light creature expanded, filling the room with intense blue light. In the glow, Tay saw the double helix space station again, clearer this time. Coordinates flashed in his mind. When the light faded, everyone stared at Tay. What was that? G demanded. Bile showed me this place before, Tay said. A station shaped like a double helix orbiting twin stars. And now I know where it is. Juan quickly transferred the coordinates from Ty's description to the navigation system. Paul's crystal body vibrated with surprise. This location is in unclaimed space, beyond council boundaries, the navigator said. But according to old star charts, there was once a research station there called Mnemosyne. Memory, Dal translated. In ancient human mythology, Mnemosyne was the goddess of memory. G looked troubled. If the Vanguard escorts us to Nexus Point, we'll never reach these coordinates. They'll find Tay and this Celestial, and both will disappear forever. Then we need to get away from them, Tay said. Against a Vanguard patrol ship? G laughed, without humor. Their weapons would cut us in half. Tay looked at Buell, floating serenely above the table. Maybe we have help they don't expect. The plan was simple, but dangerous. The stellar wind would approach Nexus Point as ordered, but before entering the station's scanner range, they would create a distraction and slip away. Tay stood on the bridge with G and her crew. Through the viewport, he could see the Vanguard, ship flying alongside them. It was sleek and predatory, armed with weapons that made G's trading vessel look like a toy. We're approaching the outer marker, Paul announced. Nexus Point traffic control will hail us in approximately 3 minutes. G nodded to Tay. Now or never. Tay held out his hands. Bile floated down to rest on his palms. He had spent hours trying to communicate with the Celestial, explaining what they needed. He had no idea if the creature understood or was willing to help. Please, Bile, Tay whispered. We need to get to that station, to find out what happened to my people. Bile's light pulsed once, twice, then suddenly expanded. The bridge filled with blue radiance. Tay felt a connection form between his mind and Buell's consciousness. Ancient, vast, curious. Outside, space itself seemed to ripple. The Vanguard ship's lights flickered and went dark. Their systems are failing, Juan reported excitedly. All power sources dropping. Full burn now, G ordered. Get us out of scanner range. The stellar wind's engines roared to life. The ship veered away from their escort and accelerated rapidly. On the displays, Tay could see the Vanguard vessel drifting helplessly, its weapons and engines dead. Yul returned to its normal size, settling on Tay's shoulder. The creature seemed dimmer now, as if the effort had drained it. Thank you, Tay told it quietly. After they were safely away, G approached Tay. Your little friend is more powerful than it looks. I think it's just a baby, Tay said. Dal said Celestials were beings of pure energy. Bile might grow to be much more. G nodded, her feathery crest rising, and what Ty had learned was a sign of respect. We're setting course for these Mnemosyne coordinates. It's about 4 days. Journey. The vanguard will follow once they get their systems back online, Tay pointed out. Yes, but we'll have a head start. G studied him with her large black eyes. What do you expect to find at this station? Tay thought of the pods he had seen in his vision, rows of sleeping humans. Answers, maybe more survivors, maybe a way to find Earth. And if what we find threatens my crew, G asked bluntly. Then we walk away, Tay promised. I won't risk your people after you've helped me. G seemed satisfied with this answer. Rest, save your strength. Something tells me we'll need it when we reach this mysterious station of yours. As Tai turned to leave the bridge, Juan caught up with him in the corridor. I've been studying the old records about Mnemosyne, the young engineer said excitedly. It was supposedly built by a coalition of species before the current Galactic Council formed. Some stories say it contained the greatest library of knowledge ever assembled. A library? Tay asked. That doesn't match what Bayul showed me. What? Did you see? People. Humans in stasis pods like the one I was in. Thousands of them. Juan's eyes widened. What if Mnemosyne wasn't just a library for information? What if it was a library of people? The idea sent chills down Tai's spine. A library of people, preserved perhaps to save them from whatever had happened to the rest of humanity. As he reached his cabin, Buell floated up and pressed against the viewport, looking out at the stars. The creature's light pulsed in a pattern that seemed almost like excitement. Tay joined Buell at the window. We're going home, aren't we? He asked softly. Or at least to answers. Somewhere ahead, beyond the distant stars, the station Mnemosyne waited with its secrets. Tay only hoped those secrets wouldn't get them all killed. The ancient defense systems of Mnemosyne came to life under Tai's hands. Screens lit up around him, showing the 3 vanguard ships surrounding the station. They were sleek and powerful, built for war. The station's shields are at 40%, Tay announced, but the weapons need more time to charge. Another blast rocked the station. She steadied herself against a nearby console. We don't have much time, she said. They're calling for backup. Juan worked frantically at another terminal. I'm trying to access the station's communications. Maybe we can talk to them, explain. They won't listen, Tay said. They've been hiding the truth about humanity for centuries. They can't let us reveal it now. Bayul suddenly flew to Tay, circling him urgently. The creature seemed distressed, its light flickering between blue and gold. What is it? Tay asked. In response, Bayul shot toward one of the stasis pods and hovered over it. The pod was different from the others, larger, with more connections. To the central system. Tay approached it. The frost cleared from the surface as he drew near, revealing a young man inside. Unlike the other sleepers who looked peaceful, this man's face showed strain as if fighting against his dreams. Something's wrong with this one, Dal said, scanning the pod. His brain activity is off the charts. Tay placed his hand on the pod's surface. Another memory clicked into place. A mission briefing. Talk of a connector. Someone who could bridge the gap between individual humans and the collective consciousness Earth had become. His name is Juan, Tai said, surprised. Not your Juan, he clarified, looking at the young engineer. But he has the same name. He was specially modified to serve as a link between us and the evolved humans. A coincidence? G asked, looking between the pod and her crew member. I don't believe in coincidences anymore, Tay said. The station shuddered again. Warning lights flashed on the defense console. Shield failure in 3 minutes, Tay announced. We need to make a decision. G looked at the thousands of sleeping humans, then at the approaching vanguard fleet on the screens. We can't fight them all, and we can't evacuate all these people. Bile pulsed rapidly, then expanded into its humanoid light form again. It placed one hand on the special stasis pod and reached the other toward Tay. I think it has a plan, Dal said. Tay stepped forward and took Bayul's hand of light. Instantly, his mind filled with images. Earth in its pocket dimension. Billions of evolved humans living as a collective consciousness. The sleeping humans here in the station, preserved in their original form. And a bridge forming between the two, connecting what humanity had been with what it had become. I understand, Tay said when the vision faded. Bile wants to wake him, the connector, in the middle of a battle. G sounded concerned. It's our only chance, Tai said. He turned to Juan. I need your help. We have to start the revival process for this pod. Juan hurried over, studying the pod's controls. It's similar to your stasis system, but more complex. The awakening has to be gradual or it could kill him. Start the process, Tay ordered. G-Dal, help me with the defenses. We need to buy time. As Juan worked on reviving the sleeping connector, Tai returned to the defense console. The station's ancient weapons were nearly charged, but the shields were failing fast. 2 Vanguard ships are moving into boarding position, G reported, watching the screens. They'll have troops inside within minutes. Target the lead ship, Tay instructed. Full power to the main weapon. Energy built up in the station's ancient systems. The lights dimmed momentarily as power was diverted. Then a beam of intense white light shot from the station, striking the lead Vanguard vessel. The ship's shields flared and failed, and its engines went dark. Direct hit, G exclaimed. They're disabled. The other ships are pulling back, Dal observed. They didn't expect resistance. Tay allowed himself a moment of hope, but it was short-lived. More ships arriving, G announced grimly. A full battle fleet. We can't fight them all. At the special stasis pod, Juan called out. The revival process is at 80%. His vital signs are stabilizing. Bayul's light form hovered over the pod, pulsing in time with the life signs on the display. The creature seemed to be helping somehow, guiding the sleeping man back to consciousness. The station rocked with another impact. The main lights failed, leaving only the emergency systems glowing red. Shields failing, Tay reported. We have minutes at most. The pod hissed open. Inside, the man called Juan, the connector, opened his eyes for the first time in centuries. He looked around in confusion, then focused on Buell's light form. Celestial, he whispered, his voice rough from D'Souza. You found us. Buell pulsed in response. The connector slowly sat up, his movements stiff. Where am I? He asked. This isn't Earth. You're on Manima Sign Station, Tay explained quickly. I'm Tay, security team. We have a situation. Understanding dawned in the connector's eyes. The contingency plan. It's time? Yes, Tay said. Earth is hidden. Humanity is evolved. And now the Vanguard is about to destroy this station and everyone on it. The connector looked at the screens showing the approaching fleet. They fear what they don't understand. Always have. He turned to Bayul. You know what we need to do. Bayul's light form nodded. The connector stood shakily and placed both hands on the central pedestal in the stasis chamber. I need to connect with the collective, he said. All of humanity, as it exists now. How? Tay asked. Earth is in another dimension. The connector smiled weakly. That's what I was made for. Bill expanded further, its light surrounding the connector. The man's eyes closed in concentration. The central pedestal began to glow with the same light. What's happening? G asked, as the light spread through the floor of the chamber. Following, the patterns like veins. He's reaching out. Tay explained, understanding somehow. Trying to contact Earth. The entire station hummed with energy. The defense system suddenly showed massive power surges. Something's coming through, Dal said, watching the readings on his scanner. A dimensional rift is forming. Outside the station, space itself began to ripple. The Vanguard ships halted their approach, clearly detecting the anomaly. The connector strained with effort, his face pale. I can feel them, he gasped. Billions of minds all connected. They know we're here. They're trying to reach back. The station's power systems surged again. Every stasis pod in the chamber lit up simultaneously, the sleeping humans inside stirring, as if sensing what was happening. They're waking up, Juan said in awe. All of them. On the screens, the space around the station continued to distort. A massive shape began to form, spherical, blue-green, familiar to every human. Earth, Tay whispered. It's coming back. The connector fell to his knees, still maintaining contact with the pedestal. Not just coming back, he said through gritted teeth. Coming home. The rift expanded. On the screens, they could see the Vanguard ships retreating in obvious panic. Whatever was happening, it was beyond their expectations or experience. The collective is pulling us in, the connector explained, his voice strained, bringing Mnemosyne to Earth. The station shuddered, not from weapons fire this time, but from movement. The entire structure was being pulled through the dimensional rift. Will we survive this? G asked, looking worried. If we stay together, Tay said, standing firm. Biol knows what it's doing. The light grew blinding. Tay felt the station lurch, then a sensation like falling through endless space. He reached out and found G's hand holding tight. Around them, the thousands of stasis pods glowed with Buell's light, protecting their occupants. When the light finally faded, they rushed to the nearest viewport. Outside was not the empty space and distant binary stars they had seen before. Instead, a familiar blue planet hung in the void, beautiful and whole. Earth had returned to normal space, bringing with it the evolved humanity that had learned to exist as both individuals and a collective consciousness. The connector slowly stood, supported by Juan. It worked, he said, smiling. We're home. On the screens, they could see ships approaching the station. Not Vanguard vessels, but ships of entirely new design, glowing with the same light as Buell. The evolved humans, Tay realized. They've built their own civilization while hidden away. G looked at the approaching ships with concern. Will they welcome us? Or see us as primitives? Tay smiled, feeling an unexpected sense of peace. We're all human, whether evolved or original. This is a reunion, not a conquest. Biol returned to its smaller form and settled on Tai's shoulder, its mission complete. The creature pulsed with what seemed like contentment. As they prepared to meet the representatives of an evolved humanity, Tay looked at his unlikely companions, an alien captain, her young engineer, their doctor, and a celestial being. Together they had changed the course of galactic history. Humanity had returned to the stars not as strangers but as transformative forces. And though challenges remained, explaining to the Galactic Council, integrating the sleepers with the evolved humans, finding a place for themselves in this new reality, Tay knew one thing for certain. Among infinite stars, humanity had found its way home. End of story. The day the ships came was just like any other. The sky was blue and people went about their normal lives. Then the shadows fell. Taehyun Kim stood on the roof of Seoul's military headquarters. At 42 years old, he had seen many battles. But nothing like this. He watched the massive alien ships block out the sun above the city. These dark vessels hung in the air like giant metal clouds. Next to him, Dr. Jia Park lowered her binoculars. Her hands shook slightly. They're putting soldiers on the ground, she said quietly. Just like the message said they would. 3 days. Ago, all radios and TVs on Earth got the same message. It was short. Your world now belongs to the Draven Collective. We claim Earth as our new colony. Do not fight back. It will only cause pain. The Draven had taken over 17 other worlds. In space, Earth was next on their list. Taehyun frowned as he watched smaller ships leave the big ones. How many do you think there are? Too many, Jia said. She was Earth's best scientist when it came to alien life. For years, people had laughed at her work. Now no one was laughing. All around the world, armies tried to fight back. Planes flew up to attack the alien ships. Tanks fired at the smaller craft landing in cities. Soldiers shot at the tall, scaly aliens as they marched down streets. Nothing worked. The alien ships had special shields. Bullets, missiles, even the biggest bombs just bounced off them. The Draven walked through gunfire like it was rain. Seoul Command, this is Beijing Base, a voice said from Taehyun's radio. We can't hold them back, the city is... The voice cut off. Reports came in from all over. New York had fallen. London was under alien control. The Draven were setting up centers in each city to count and sort humans, like farmers counting livestock. Taehyun looked at the distant shapes of aliens moving through Seoul's streets. People ran from them. Some were caught and taken away. We knew this might happen someday, Jia said softly. She was right. In 2031, strange signals from deep space had been found. Most people never knew about them, but world leaders did. They knew someone else was out there, and they might not be friendly. That's when Protocol Omega started. 20 governments working together in secret, preparing for the worst, building hidden places, making new weapons, setting traps that no one could see. A heavy weight sat in Taehyun's pocket. His special phone buzzed. He took it out and read the message. Omega authorized. 48 hours. His heart beat faster. It was really happening. The last plan. The final defense. They won. Gave the order. He told Jia. Protocol Omega starts now. Her eyes widened. As a scientist, she had helped create part of the plan. She knew what it meant. What it would cost. Will it work? He asked her. Jia looked at the alien ships again. Her face hardened. The Draven came here thinking Earth would be easy to take, she said. They're wrong. Down in the streets, people were being herded into lines by the aliens. The Draven were tall, with scales that shimmered in the sun. They had 4 eyes set in a diamond pattern on their faces. They made clicking sounds when they talked to each other. All humans will be processed, one of them announced through a device that translated their language. Resistance is not allowed. Some people cried. Others looked angry but afraid. No one fought back. Not anymore. Special Draven officers moved through the crowds, picking out certain people. Anyone who looked like military or police. Anyone who seemed like a leader. In other parts of the city, the aliens were already setting up their own systems. They put strange metal boxes on buildings. They scanned the ground with devices that hummed and glowed. They're looking for resources, Jia explained as she and Taehyun watched from their hiding spot. They had left the military building when aliens approached it. Metals, water, energy sources. What about people? Taehyun asked. What do they want with us? Labor, probably, Jia said grimly. Workers for their mines and factories. Maybe test subjects. The message said they've done this 17 times before. They have a system. Night fell over Seoul. The alien ships glowed with strange lights. More were arriving. The sky was filled with them now. Taehyun and Jia made their way through back streets, avoiding alien patrols. They needed to reach the access point, a hidden entrance to the underground network. Stop there, humans, a deep voice commanded. They froze. 3 Draven soldiers stood behind them, weapons raised. The aliens' 4 eyes blinked in sequence as they studied the 2 humans. You, one of them said, pointing at Taehyun. You wear military clothing. You will come for special processing. Taehyun knew he couldn't be captured. He knew too much about Protocol Omega. But fighting was pointless. Then a sound like thunder rolled through the streets. The ground shook. The aliens turned to look at the source of the noise. A group of Korean soldiers charged around the corner, firing old-style guns. Not modern weapons that did nothing against the aliens' armor, but simple shotguns loaded with special shells. The blast hit the first alien, and its armor cracked. It staggered back, surprised. These humans had weapons that could hurt them. Run, shouted the leader of the soldiers. We'll hold them. Taehyun grabbed Jia's hand and they ran. Behind them, more thunder sounds, more alien shouts. They reached a small shop with a metal door at the back. Taehyun punched in a code and the door slid open. Inside, a tunnel led down into darkness. Those soldiers, Jia said, breathing hard. They sacrificed themselves for us. They knew the plan, Taehyun said. We all know what we have to do. The tunnel took them deep underground. After walking for an hour, they reached a large open space. It was filled with people working at computers and equipment. Maps on screens showed the whole world, with red dots where alien ships had landed. General Hyun Baek, an older man with gray hair, walked over to them. You made it, he said. Good. We need you both. How many people have we gotten to safety? Taehyun asked. About 20% so far, Hyun replied. The evacuation is happening, but slowly. We don't want the aliens to notice large movements of people. All around the world, similar scenes were playing out. Hidden bunkers under mountains, desert facilities, underwater bases, all filled with people escaping the alien invasion. On screens, around the room they could see feeds from cameras hidden in cities. The aliens were everywhere now, setting up their bases, taking over Earth piece by piece. They think we've surrendered, Jia said, watching the images. They think the war lasted 1 day and they won. Taehyun checked his watch. 45 hours until Omega activates, he said. We need to get more people to safety before then. And the ones we can't save? Asked a young officer nearby. Taehyun didn't answer. They all knew the truth. Protocol Omega would save Earth, but at a terrible cost. Some would be left behind. We do what we must, Hyun said firmly. The Draven came to take our world. Instead, we'll give them something else. On the screens, more alien ships arrived. The Draven thought they had won an easy victory. They had no idea what was coming. Taehyun looked at Jia, then at the countdown. Clock on the wall. 45 hours, he repeated softly. Then they learn what happens when you try to conquer Earth.